kind of random.
Apparently, they dragged me on Twitter. I don't give a because Twitter's not a real place.
What up, y'all? Welcome to This Week in Hip Hop Twitter. I am your host, Vegas of Hip Hop Now podcast. I got with me the homie Yentz. What's good, man?
What's happening, Vegas? What's up?
And this, I'm good. Let me not just move on to business. I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm drinking.
All right.
This podcast, along with the other podcasts, are brought to you by the producers of Hip Hop Now podcast over at patreon.com/Hip Hop Now. The link is in the description. Check it out. Become a supporter, a producer, a person who has a word, a say in how these podcasts are produced. They've been donating for a while now and have brought the equipment up to par, you know. In some regards, we've shared the responsibilities, and also some ideas come from them, but that's not the only thing. I'm not putting you to work. I am also giving you bonus, exclusive and timed exclusive bonus episodes of this podcast. For example, last year, 2020, I did Happy Ether Day. You know what that is. Nas dropped the Jay-Z diss song, Ether, and it was on Jay-Z's birthday. Did a whole podcast about it, but only the supporters of patreon.com got to hear it. You had to wait an entire year to hear it. So I'm sitting on a clip, you know. So if you enjoy this podcast, you enjoy Hip Hop Now podcast or any of the hip hop content I create, I implore you to support the podcast because it is worth it to you. All right, Yentz, what the fuck are people talking about on hip hop Twitter this week?
Oh man, here we go. Right, just straight into it. This is a quote. Mobb Deep is probably the most overrated group in hip hop has ever had. The most overrated group hip hop has ever had, and they were average at best. Average. Mobb Deep.
Yentz, did this person also tweet their name and address?
Cats was looking for them. Cats was definitely sending out feelers to see where they was at. So yeah, I hope not, but you know, Cats was looking.
Look, man, we gonna keep it 100 with y'all, right? I get it. When you don't like a group or an artist that most people like, you really don't care what their status is to people. You just don't. I mean, we've all been there. We've all heard artists or whatever that was like top 5, blah, blah, blah. But you know in your hearts of hearts, like, yo, I don't like anything he does or anything she does. But to say that about Mobb Deep, say all those things about Mobb Deep, I'm going to just come to you, Ian, because average at best.
No.
So Yentz, obviously my opinion is written all over my face, even though you can't see it. What do you think about this kind of comment?
I think it's bullshit. There's no way that you can say that Mobb Deep are average at best. These cats, the debut set aside, you know, a lot of us don't talk about that debut, but anyway, from the sophomore and the next album, these dudes are sending out, they handed out some classics. Many classic joints, period. You know, not necessarily, you don't have to be an entire album, although the second and the third, I believe they're classics, in my opinion. But I mean, a lot of people look at Prodigy as, you know, a great MC, and it's true. I also look at Prodigy as a great MC. He's had all kind of quotable bars throughout the years. He got a distinctive voice. Just the way he presents his lyrics, all of that is dope. All of that's dope. And then, you know, you add Havoc, who has a lot of the production weight on his back, but he still comes in and he adds to the whole, you know, flavor of the group. And he's not terrible, but to say average, I mean, I don't. If they're average, then I don't know, man. I just, that's bullshit to me. So
Average and overrated. Like
Overrated, yeah.
like I agree with you, right? Like with their debut, Juvenile Hell, right? They didn't really make a mark. You know, we remember them, right? But they didn't really make a mark like that.
Right.
But to your point, Infamous, Hell on Earth,
Hell yeah.
Murder Music.
Yes.
Most people don't have a run like that. Like as far as 3 albums that most people can consider a classic in one way or another. You may have your favorite over the other, blah, 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 but you can't deny that run in itself.
No, you can't. And that there's nothing overrated about the run. There's nothing average about the run. That's got to be trolling, man. You know, the person once this was tweeted out and cats was going after him, there wasn't much rebuttal on the initial person's behalf. He wasn't trying to, you know, he did a hit it and quit it. He didn't.
Yeah, he was done after that.
Yeah. He wasn't trying to engage anybody or try to add any kind of information to back his initial point. So, you know what I mean? Like it just took off and man, people were letting him have it. You know what I'm saying? So,
right.
I mean, that's the only comment this person had, and it stirred up a lot of people, rightfully so. And you know, average and overrated are 2 words that definitely don't describe Mobb Deep, in my opinion.
Yeah, it seems weird because it's not a hot take. A hot take is more of an informed opinion, right? Even if you may not agree, you have a reason why you say it. But like you said, this person makes this statement and then they dip into the shadows. Well, you're just a troll. You're just a troll, you know?
Yeah.
So them. What else happened on hip hop Twitter?
Public Enemy don't compare to anybody from the 90s all the way to the 2010 year. Chuck D had a whack flow. PE's overrated. They use that to even talk about PE. None of their music. I don't particularly use this word, but this is what the person said. Public Enemy's music doesn't even slap.
Oh, it doesn't slap.
No, it don't slap.
Wow.
Yeah, man, and like it was a few different cats. This wasn't just one cat with these crazy things. It was like 2 or 3 different cats, you know, talking crazy talk. Chuck D ain't even top 10 within his era.
Wow.
Yeah, Tribe is way better than PE. So I mean, you know, I got a problem with all those statements. This sounds like people. It's got to be young. I don't like to use the age thing, but this sounds like somebody who just wasn't around to really get what PE is all about,
right?
And what they were doing, you know, when they came out up till now. So, you know, to say Public Enemy is overrated, to say Public Enemy music doesn't slap, to say that Public Enemy couldn't compete within the 90s, or I don't know why the hell they would say 2010. I don't.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
I don't know where that year just popped up at, but you know, that's a lot of blasphemy in my opinion. That's one thing I can't see. I mean, if you were there, and again, I don't like using these terms and all like that, but all right, it's where we are. But this has to be people that are very young and just don't know, you know, what Public Enemy means to hip hop, what Chuck D means to hip hop.
It's sort of, I'm becoming desensitized to what people have to say on Twitter.
Word.
Because at some point, it's so obvious when people say stuff like this, that there's something there that they're not telling us. That's basically what backs their opinion, right? Like you said, it's got to be a young person. It has to be someone who just didn't get it. Because when you think about it, right, Now, on some level, well, no, I guess I look at it the same way too. I never looked at Chuck D as a who is he better than as an MC, because I felt like his style was so unique that you really couldn't compare him to anybody, because it was almost unfair. Not unfair in the sense that, you know, he's so much better or so much powerful or anything like that, and vice versa. But it doesn't make sense because he's so different than anybody we've ever, you know, heard in hip hop. I remember when I was younger, like, yo, it's almost like he's giving speeches. It's almost like he's not rapping. Like his flow is like somebody giving a speech, you know, just really aggressively. But if you don't understand what Public Enemy represented at that time, like I do this all the time on my podcast. We've done it on That Time in Hip Hop. You have to understand the context before you can grade anybody. And that goes for even old heads when it comes to newer hip hop, right?
Right.
Because they have their own context for what hip hop should sound like for every year. They don't care if that context is coming from the 90s. They feel like in 2021, this is that 90s standard is the standard now. And you can't do that, because if you could hop in a time machine and go back to all these hip hop tours and you see how these crowds react to Public Enemy, not just the white crowds, all of them, right? There's no way you can comfortably say that without just saying, I couldn't really get into them. My preference is A Tribe Called Quest. Like the end.
Yeah, that makes more sense. You know, that if you say that, I can't have a problem with it. If you prefer Tribe to Public Enemy, more power to you. You know what I'm saying? But to diminish, I mean, you can't diminish what Public Enemy is and always has been to hip hop. You just can't. You can't. Chuck D, the voice of power. You know what I'm saying? Like that says it all right there, and it's truth. It's true to this day. Man's still doing it, still performing in front of huge crowds. So somebody must be slapping in them crowds. I gotta believe,
right? Something slapping. Now look, this is the thing. Well, we need to be slapping somebody, one or the other. Isn't Public Enemy in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I believe so. If not, they should have been.
Right. But I think they are.
Yeah.
I think they got in before the LLs and even NWA.
Okay.
Or right after NWA, one or the other. And I know some people say, well, hey, the Hip Hop Hall of Fame. Do you seriously want to suggest that if there's a Hip Hop Hall of Fame, Public Enemy's not getting in?
Yeah.
You must be crazy.
You gotta be. Yeah. You totally bonkers.
Yeah, this whole week has been nonsense, considering what people. This tells me that people have nothing else to do, because here we are with the revisionist history, thinking they're geniuses, right? Like they discovered something we all didn't get. It takes a nation of millions to hold us back is one of the greatest albums of all time. Not hip hop albums.
That's
of
right.
all time. So
right.
Them also. Is there anything else? Is there any sane people saying anything on Twitter?
No, not at least not this week. This week, these people, they was going for the gusto with the crazy ass comments. You know, I mean.
But see, this is my problem with hip hop Twitter and social media in general. There's so many discussions that could be had in relation to hip hop where the timing makes sense of why you ask the question or why you have the opinion.
Right.
This is really snatching stuff out the sky and trying to create, trying to create a conversation around it. Because there is nothing that's organically happening. Like if it was me, right, and I want to talk hip hop, I would say, if you are a quote unquote gangster rapper and you get beat up by Jim Jones and his friends, does that take away from your music? Do people need to believe that you are who you say you are in order to enjoy your music, or as long as it sounds good, it doesn't matter? That's a topic of the week, because it's something that happened. It's topical. You know what I'm saying? It gets people thinking. But when you're reaching back and be like, oh yeah, Fats Waller, you know him? Yeah, he wasn't that good. Man, who cares? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's goofy, man. Goofy. These are two of the most goofy statements that I've seen in a while. And believe me, on Twitter, you see a lot of goofy shit.
I get it, right? Because a lot of people, social media is a source of entertainment for them. Probably more than watching the game or whatever. That connection is addictive, and they will fabricate something in order to get that feeling again. So. But we expect it, because that's why this podcast exists, because of hip hop takes like those.
We bring you all of the foolishness.
Right. We dig in the trash and bring you people from Twitter. You know what I mean? With that being said, how do you feel about that? Do you feel like they have a point about Mobb Deep? Maybe we've overrated them. Do you feel like they have a point about, I can't even say, about Public Enemy and their place in hip hop history and how they compete? Leave your comments in the comment section below. Subscribe to the channel on YouTube. Subscribe to the podcast if you're listening to the audio version somewhere in the podcast space. And visit patreon.com/hiphop now to learn more how to become a producer of this podcast and other hip hop related content. On behalf of the homie Yentz, I am Vegas. Please take a break. Open your gifts. Don't worry, I bought you Mobb Deep's Juvenile Hell and Yo Bum Rush the Show to get you started for Christmas. Okay,
stocking stuffer, a good little stocking stuffer, right?
Little stocking stuffer. Instead, I'm just gonna stuff it down your throat. I don't have to say pause because grown men don't have to do that.
Word.
All right, y'all. Peace.
Peace.
Drop it on the random.